Hello, 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 and welcome to another episode of Reality Writes. I am author Ellie Alexander, and this is the podcast where we talk about all things writerish, bookish, and whatever else is on our mind. And I'm here with the tech guy.
Hello, hello. How's it going today?
It's pretty good. How about you?
Good. Yeah, it's going well. Good. Well, I don't know.
The world is upside down right now, so
I will say, just quick aside, because that's what I'm known for on Reality Writes. I don't like it when somebody asks me how I'm doing and I say good, and then I ask them how they're doing and they say, I'm doing well. And they say it in that tone, right? They give you that tone that I know well is the more appropriate answer. I don't care. So I'm doing good. How's that?
It's bringing back flashbacks to when my dad would correct me for saying, with whom are you? I'm like, yeah.
I know. Yeah. No, this is, I guess this is a podcast about writing in part, right? So maybe I should start saying well, but.
No, I don't think you should, because this comes up a lot in my writing, especially if I'm writing dialogue. And I think we've touched on this before, but like characters talk the way that we talk in the real world. So it doesn't, grammar doesn't always translate, especially in dialogue.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And I agree. So for the darlings out there, are you doing good? Are you doing well?
Or both.
How are you doing? Let us know.
A bit of both, Yeah. It's all good.
Actually, before we get into today's topic, I just want to remind everyone to please share Reality Writes with a friend or a family member and anyone that you know that is into reading, writing, or just wants to come and hear Ellie talk and maybe get some words of wisdom or not wisdom from the tech guy.
So much more from you. Okay, all right. You're the one doling out wisdom. Awesome. Good. I've got a lot of questions today then. Bring it on.
And if you would be so kind, please leave us a rating. It really does help. It helps with discovery of the podcast for other listeners. And we just want to spread the writerish and bookish love. New feature alert, though, if you're listening to this podcast on your favorite podcasting platform, be sure to head down to the show notes after this and click send us a message. There's a new way to get in touch with us, and you can drop us a question, a comment, tell us how much you love the show, tell us how much you don't love the show. Actually, just don't worry about that. Hey, maybe you'll hear it on the air. There's even an option to leave us a voicemail if you would like to do so. So, yeah.
We're going back to 1980. I was just thinking about this the other night. It's so funny because I can remember my childhood phone number. I can remember my childhood best friend's phone number, like anything from the 80s. It is solid up in my brain. I don't know Sky Guy, our child, who's 22. I don't have his number memorized. Like I have no one memorized post iPhone whatsoever. But yeah. Okay. So you can leave us a voicemail and you don't even have to pull out an old phone book to do it. This is great.
Yeah. It's a new service we're using for the podcast. I'm super excited. I'm going to be rolling out a bunch of really cool changes for Reality Writes. Changes, but improvements. So, and this is the start of it. I'm really excited and can't wait to see what this does in terms of engagement. I'd love to hear from the darlings out there. And so there you go. Send us a message.
Send us a voicemail.
Right.
The question is, can we crank call back?
No, unfortunately, the messaging system, we're able to reply to the, once to the written messages, but I don't believe we can reply to the voice messages. I don't know though. I'll look into it.
My fun pranks.
But if you leave us a voice message, you might hear your voice on a future episode of Reality Writes. So be kind.
I mean, we do talk about murder. So if you've got a great murder idea, bring it on. Okay, well, that's a good segue to today because we're going to talk about a new book.
A new book? Another new book. Yeah. Wow. I mean, it's just, I wasn't ready for it, but here we go. Let's have some applause for the new. What's the title?
Oh, right. The title is A Death in the Dark.
All right.
I thought it was going to be dun dun dun, so I was much more animated about my title. But okay, I can.
Okay, well, do it again. Do the title again.
Okay, great. Ready? A Death in the Dark. Yeah.
There you go.
It is. That's more like it. That's more like it.
All right. And this is a new book in the novel detective series.
This is the second book in the novel detective series, but the novel detective series technically is a spin-off of the Secret Bookcase series. So all of the same characters have continued on through the novel detectives. So while it's book 2, it's also sort of technically book, what is that then? 8, I guess?
Book 8, yeah. You know me, I love a good spin-off. So I'm like... I think I watch every version of NCIS. So
and then some.
And then some. There you go. No, but that's totally cool. So what are we learning? And again, we'll just say up front, this is going to be spoiler free, as always. When we promote the new book, spoiler free. So don't worry about having to turn the podcast off.
Well, I think there are a couple things to touch on. One, I want to talk a lot about the process of writing this one because it was a little different, and I had a writing partner for this particular book too. But before we dive into that, there's a little bit of a change in the pub schedule for this one. So the ebook will be out on April 21st, followed by the paperback the next week on April 28th, because the publishing house for this one, Storm, is in the UK, and they've done a big print run and partnered with a US printer. But because of the state of the world and delays and shipments and all those good things, the paperback will be out a week later. So do not panic, darlings. If you're like, ooh, there's a new book out in the novel detectives, I'm going to go find it. Like the paperback is coming. The ebook is just coming first. So I guess it's a bonus if you're an ebook reader, you get it a week early. But that's not by design. That doesn't usually happen.
No. Definitely the plan is to have them both released at the same time. But obviously, things happen in the physical world, and sometimes it's just easier to get the e-versions out sooner.
Yeah. I'm so excited that it's doing a big print run here in the US, because that means you can go to your local bookstore, your local library. You can request it at your local library. Your local bookstore can get it easily. So I'm super thrilled to have it out in both. So don't panic. It's coming. That's just my talking point. I promise it's coming, because I've already gotten a few emails from readers being like, wait, but where's the paperback?
Oh, yeah. Always happens.
It's okay. This book, though, I a little over a year ago did a road trip with Sky Guy, our son, because he was putting on an event at a Comic-Con, and he needed somebody to help him schlep all of his equipment back and forth and set up his booth, which was super fun. And of course, I'm always up for a road trip. So we did a 6-hour drive, and on the drive, we brainstormed this entire book together, which was great because he ran cross country all through middle school, high school, and even his first year of college. And so obviously he knows a lot about the running world. And the way that a book will start is I will just have one little glimmer of an idea. So my idea for this one was that someone is going to stumble into Annie and Fletcher's office at the novel detectives, and they're covered in blood, and they have no memory of what happened the night before. That's all I had. That was like my little glimmer of an idea. But I didn't have anything else.
Okay, so when you started out the road trip, you had this idea already, and you voiced this idea to him.
Yes.
And then what happened? Did he take it from there, or was it?
No. Yeah, he was driving. And so I had my notebook. And you know this because over the years we have plotted, I can't even tell you how many books on road trips. It's kind of one of my favorite ways. I would never be able to physically write a book, but like sketching out ideas on a notebook and like pulling together a plot There's something about the moving car and the scenery, and you're also trapped, right? You don't have really anything else to do. So I can't be distracted doing anything else. Yeah. So I gave him that pitch and I was like, I kind of feel like, and maybe it's just because I'm with you, but I'm like, what if the guy who stumbles into their office is the high school track coach? And then, from there, it just really spiraled with ideas about like, okay, who's going to be on the track team? Who are the people? Like, who are the players? What drama can we pull up from your past? Like, yeah.
I love it. So keeping the content very relevant to his life experience.
Yeah, exactly. Which you have to do. You pull from your own life experience, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
He did not ever have a track coach that stumbled, into the local police station, or at least that we know of. Maybe he did.
Thankfully, we did not have that happen. Yeah, that would have been a little nerve-wracking for sure.
Yeah. But one of the main things that I do myself when I'm in that initial stage of putting together a plot, and this is something that I often encourage new writers to do too, is just ask a lot of what if questions, or like why questions, how questions. I'll just kind of riff on questions. Okay, so if it is the track coach, why is he there? Like when I started, and again, no spoilers because we don't know, like, is the track coach, like, is he the killer? Like, are Annie and Fletcher going to have a client who could be a killer? Is he going to be innocent? Is he somehow involved? Like all of those questions start to flow. And I think it's really important when you're first plotting a novel to just let yourself explore all of them.
That's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, of course he could be the killer. Came in covered in blood. Wasn't his blood. So
wasn't his blood.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Looking guilty already.
Looking real guilty already. And then how intriguing for a private detective. How do you not want to take that case, even if you are suspicious right off the bat about whether your client is telling you the truth or not, which of course Annie and Fletcher are, because they're sharp and savvy and trained professional detectives. So, yeah.
Yeah. So was that the entirety of the conversation from the time you left Sunnyvale to the time you got up to the Ashland Medford area?
That was pretty much, we spent a good solid 6 hours. I have my notebook here if you want some like ASMR, just like going through suspects, talking. I asked him a lot about like practices and things that, like, this book is not necessarily running heavy. It's still a fun mystery. There is this touch and this element to track and cross country that plays a tiny little role. A lot of that never makes it onto the page, which is fine. But we did map out every single suspect, and each of them, of course, had a motive. And then working back to not only the victim, but also the track coach's connection to each of them, because that was a little different. I have a lot of fun with this series because I get to really play up this investigation piece in a way that doesn't always make sense with, let's say, like the Bake Shop Mysteries, because Jules is ultimately a pastry chef who stumbles upon murder every now and then. Annie is actively seeking client work like this. And so for me, it's tapping into a little bit of my favorite back in the day, like Sue Grafton's Kinsey Milhone Alphabet Murders, or like Veronica Mars, like kind of weaving a touch of that inspiration into this series. So for these, which is slightly different than the way that I plot my other mysteries, I'm really thinking about the case itself and then how everything's going to wrap around the case potentially.
Yeah, interesting. It's funny that you say that not everything makes it onto the page. That's actually probably a good lesson for writers out there, that, a lot of your research, you learn a lot more about subjects than you can actually even use, but fit into any given book. But I imagine all of that knowledge helps, especially when it comes to making situations and scenes and setting and everything more realistic for the reader, right?
Yeah, and you want to be as comfortable as your characters to be able to speak about something, right? So even for Annie, when it comes to things like running the bookstore, we collectively have spent a lot of time and money in bookstores because that's kind of our jam. That's our favorite place to be. So over the years, I've made a lot of friendships. I've talked to so many independent booksellers. So I want to weave in all of the real life details of bookselling where, it's not always the fantasy that we think about where, oh, you own a bookstore. So you're sitting behind the desk, like reading books all day while you sip your tea and then there's a little cat on the counter and then you're making $1 million every year. Like, no, you're shelving books constantly, reshelving, and so making sure that those little nuggets of truth are also woven in. So the same would be true for the track details. I don't want to say like we went for a 200-foot run versus like a 5K or, like even the terminology, you want to get that right.
Any readers out there who are runners would be like, wait, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did they do? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's interesting you say that about Annie. I thought of Annie, the character, the other day. I saw a reel of just some random reel came across my feed on Instagram, and it was a young woman she owns a bookshop, a small independent bookshop, and her whole reel was like, come along with me, like a day in the life of a bookshop owner. And it looked amazing. She was very relaxed and she had a nice soundtrack going and everything, but it also was a lot of work, right? It was everything you just described. It was like she was constantly putting books on the shelf. She was opening boxes of books. She was doing, she was changing because it also was kind of a coffee shop. She was changing the menu and everything. And she was not sitting still. There was no reading involved that I saw. So yeah.
I know. Yeah. And I that's like always the running joke whenever I am chatting with any of my friends who are booksellers where they're like, yeah, what did you do? I don't know. I just sat at my desk and read all day. It was amazing. The same is true in publishing even too. Like, yeah, those myths are, they're kind of pervasive.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that goes for writing, too, you're just sitting around, just doing research and everything. I got to say though, I was jealous when you told me that you and Sky Guy had brainstormed this book on the drive because that's kind of that's my thing. Like, that's my job.
I know. Sorry.
I'm getting replaced. Like what?
But it's in his genes. We trained him well for murder, which I don't know what that means. Like he was great. He was like, "Oh yeah, okay."
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. That's oh yeah. That's I might have to strike from the transcript.
No. There was literally this point where I was like, "Dude, you're really good at this," and he's like, "Yeah, well, I grew up." I'm like, "Oh yeah, right, you did." Okay, thanks for that.
Mom, if you really want to get away with it, this is what you need to do.
I know, right?
What's
my legacy? I have left him a treasure trove of murder knowledge that will live in his brain rent free. Yeah, no.
Oh my goodness.
And then the drive home, we did a lot more work on it. So at that point, he had done the Comic-Con event and I went and did some Ashland stuff and some Mystery Fest stuff. But I also then started really fleshing it out and sketching firmer ideas because in that initial stage, it is like, oh, okay, yeah, that's an interesting motive. I'm going to write it down. But then as I start to really get to know the suspects more and more than anything, the victim, because that's where everything comes back to. Then it's like, oh, wait, maybe this path is better. So the drive home was also refinement, I would say. But that was a nice chunk of 12 hours by the time I was home, I was ready to start the first draft, no problem.
Yeah. And I guess that is a great illustration for prospective writers out there about this is the work that it takes to, put together an idea for a book. That's 12 hours of conversation with somebody else about essentially you're doing research and then bouncing ideas back and forth off of each other. And then I like that the the drive up was kind of ideation, and the drive back was refinement.
Yeah.
I like that. It's very
Yeah.
cool.
It's the way it works. And I think there's really something to be said for having a sounding board, a brainstorming partner. I mean, there have been plenty of books that I have brainstormed solo in the beginning, but it's always much more enlightening to have somebody else, whether that is your husband, your son, your best friend. Like if you have an opportunity to have a little brainstorming sesh, do it, because just having other ideas in the room helps you refine, I think, what you want even more, or takes you down a path that I wasn't expecting. Like, oh, Sky Guy knows murder. Okay.
Yeah. No, I'm excited because we have a road trip coming up here in a couple weeks, and I'm looking forward to maybe brainstorming a new series.
We will be.
Although you already have, it's got to be over half a dozen like series ideas sketched out based on past road trips that we've done together that you just have not had the time to write yet. So
I know
there is that. So we're just going to be adding to that pile. It's like, well, is there a pile like for readers, for the darlings out there who are readers? It's the TBR, right? The to be read, pile. But for writers, what is it? To be the TBW to be written.
Yeah. We need to start that. I have so many things in my TBW. It's not even funny.
Yeah, you do. I know. And there's some good ones in there too. There's some really good ones in there. I mean, I'm kind of biased, obviously, but I think so.
No, and we've brainstormed, like you said, we've brainstormed multiple new series and ideas that are just sitting in notebooks because I haven't had time. So I should almost implement some kind of travel ban. I can't travel and plot anything new until I get some of these written.
No, we can't.
Okay.
We just, maybe we'll have to talk about something else. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, boring.
No, it's funny though. You say that, but you know, early on in your writing career, we drove everywhere. Like for book promotions, for your book talks, for everything, we drove everywhere. And then when we moved to Ashland, which is in Southern Oregon, for those darlings out there who don't know, and our son was running cross country and track, it took like 9 hours to get to the next school to, you know, to watch a 15-minute race. So we had a lot of time to talk, and it's, it has just, it's kind of become like, you know, that I get excited every time when I know a road trip's coming up, because that is like, I'm like, okay, I got to bring my A game. I got some good ideas. I got some ideas that might not be that good, but we're going to talk about them anyway. So,
I got some people who've really pissed me off that are about to meet
totally. No, my list of
end.
victims is so long.
Right.
Yeah.
Got a lot of material right now. A lot of material.
Definitely. Okay, so book 2 in the novel Detectives, technically book 8 of the Secret Bookcase Mysteries, just you know, but with the spinoff. How many? But how far along are you in the novel? In the novel Detectives.
I'm a little bit farther than that, let's just say.
I know the answer, but I'm just trying to, like, you know, build the suspense for the listeners.
I just delivered book 6 of the novel Detectives, and I can tell you there will be more after that. So,
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, book 6.
Book 6. And it's, again, going back to Annie and Fletcher being private eyes, each one has such a different case too. So I've been super excited. And part of my TBW is future cases, because there's so many cool, interesting cases, you know, like missing persons. Well, I won't go into too many details because you'll know soon enough, darlings. But yeah, there's a lot more to come for the novel Detectives.
No, but you could talk about that a little bit in terms of like the typical cozy mystery is like almost. I mean, I know are subgenres within the cozy mystery genre, but typically there's a murder.
Right.
Sometimes more than one. But for the novel detectives, that doesn't necessarily have to be the case because of the nature of them actually being private investigators now and not just the casual sleuth, like the amateur sleuth, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, I had a lot of conversations with my editor about this because there is something to be said for, and darlings, I would love to hear your thoughts on this, that idea that if you are a mystery lover, you might feel a little cheated if there's not a body, but the bodies have all been slightly different so far. And there have been some that, maybe it's more like a cold case. So it's not like happening right in this moment where Annie's stumbling on the body, but she's trying to piece together a murder that's a little cold. It's been chilled for a while, that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
That's awesome. So you're saying that if Annie and Fletcher were trying to find like a lost prize dog, that there may be a murder involved, even though the initial investigation is just about a dog.
That's right. Although, as an aside, I always talk about that they are doing that kind of work too, but we don't do a deep dive in it. That's just sort of in the peripheral. We know that they're also, finding lost cats around Redwood Grove or whatever else it is.
Got to pay the bills.
You got to pay the bills. Who stole the cookies from the library luncheon? We need to know. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
This one has a body.
Cool. Okay. This one has a body. So darlings know this one definitely has a body. All right. So when is it coming out again?
The ebook is out April 21st, and it's coming out in paperback at your local bookstore on April 28th.
All right. And your local library.
Yeah, exactly.
Although it might not be in the library exactly on April 28th, but it will be available after that, soon after that. Awesome. Any last words about Death in the Dark?
Ooh, no, I'm excited. I'll be curious for you, darlings, to tell me after you've read it why you think I titled it A Death in the Dark.
Oh, yeah. We didn't get into that. I purposely didn't ask that question because this is no spoiler episode again.
Right.
So maybe after it's been out a few weeks, we can have a review of where we're at in the novel detectives. But for now, this is all you're getting.
That's all you get.
April 21st for ebook, April 28th for paperback.
That's right.
A Death in the Dark Novel Detectives Book 2. Awesome. Can't wait to read it. So, without further ado, until next time.
Until next time.